Hey everybody, it's Aaron here, and I am back. I do apologize for being gone for like 2 weeks. What's it called? Little TLDR at my workplace has been a little bit hell. We had a couple people leave, a couple people go on vacation, and just because of that, I had to do double overtime. Well, not double overtime, but I've been working 6 days straight for the past 2 or 3 weeks. So I've been tired, and that's the reason why I've been able to do any videos or any videos about basically unboxing or try to do any what I did say last time around when I did my Kamen Rider stuff of trying to do some stop motion stuff. What's it called? Work has been a little bit hectic. What's it called? But now I got a little bit of time to rest, not a lot. But hopefully this week I should hopefully be putting out a little bit more videos since what's it called? It is holiday week since 4th of July is coming in like next week. So I actually got I got a couple days off, which I actually kind of am happy about. What's it called? But the starter for this video I kind of want to put out is what I've been doing in the meantime, as I've not been able to do any posting of videos, any unboxing of any of my stuff, or any of the extra projects I want to do. What I have been doing has been 3D printing a lot of stuff. A lot of it's been failures, mind you, and some of it is basically just okay. That's where I went wrong. Let's try this again. So just gonna do this video is gonna be basically just me showing off the stuff that I've been able to 3D print successfully, but still some work still needs to be done. And some of my failures and other stuff that's like, okay, work in progress that I'll do later. But yeah, so without further ado, folks, I'm going to be showing you guys my progress of stuff I've been doing with my 3D printer as of late for the past 2 weeks. So without further ado, folks, let's go dive right in with that. Yeah, let's go. Starting off with the first things first, which I'm pretty sure I did in my shorts, but I'm pretty sure I showed a lot of people of, were the talismans from Jack and the Chan Adventures. As we have the first two right here, which I started off with and basically just left it here, were the two talismans of the tiger and the dragon, semi-painted and fully there, as these were one of the first two that were painted, but we're not the only ones. As I've mentioned before, 3D printing with me and my sister has been a lot. We've been 3D printing a lot of stuff. We've also printed out the rest of the talismans, which I'm going to be posting all these guys right here, hopefully in the right order. The rats, the horse, pig, the rabbits, what else? We have the snake over here. We have the rooster, laser beam, right? No, levitation, there we go. You have the monkey, ow, don't worry, I'm fine. You have the sheep for astral projection, ow, ignore that, don't worry about it, I'm okay. The ox for strength, and then the dog for immortality, remember correctly, the dog right here. But yeah, as you see right here, these are all the talents right here. I have not done any of the painting for this. I was going to, but like I said before, work has been hectic as hell, so I've not really done anything of painting. And something I've kind of learned now with a lot of the 3D prints I've done so far is I really don't have the painting space anymore, which I really got to fix on this, which is what I'm going to do, hopefully in the future. Plus, also got to buy a whole lot of paints now for a lot of the 3D prints I have now. But overall, these are one of the successful ones. I will say with some of the other prints I'm going to share right now, since we did find a place or a couple places to buy more filament, I want to redo the talismans and get them into like more. I'm going to try to see if I can find like a gray filament to make them a little bit more accurate and try to do that a little bit much more better. But overall, these are pretty good. The imprinting for them looks pretty nice. You can basically see what they're supposed to be, no problem at all. Once I do a little bit more paint job, will be a little bit much more better. But I'm going to call these like version 1. I'm going to probably do another versions later down the line. But overall, these are one of my very first successful ones. Overall, pretty great. Now let's go with one of my next ones. So still keeping the Jack and Chan Adventures, as we were doing it, we did try to do the Oni mask. Sadly, we only did like one, well, kind of one, two. As we made basically two of the Oni mask. I forget which one this was, or at least the name for it. The one that basically Jade and damn, I forgot the first bad guy's name. Donglong. No, not Donglong. God damn it, no. The rich guy. Man, how am I forgetting this? I was watching Jack and Chan Adventures a while ago, where they broke the mask off. And we have two basically different prints. We have one that's basically like kind of like a full cast face, kind of like how people tend to do like the full face mask case. When they do try to like make full face mask with the case. This actually did come out pretty well. I will say the clear one actually was the first print that we did. We did want to try the clear print on how that worked out. This one kind of came out almost a failure just because the filament the way where it was placed was very difficult to remove, as because the clear, because of how clear it was, we didn't know what was the extra support filament and what was detail parts of the face. Once this got printed and we were able to see what the detail was, it made it much more easier to clear out all the extra filament that was basically extra stuff for the supports off this one, and came out pretty well. I ended up liking the clear one a little bit more better because it kind of reminds me of kind of the Crystal Skull, which is my next thing that I'm going to try to print. This is one of the Crystal Skulls, or if not all of them. Overall, this is pretty nice. We were trying to do Oni mask, but the sizing for it wasn't working as well as we wanted to, because there's one thing I've learned about 3D printing has been what's it called? The trials and errors of not everything's going to come out perfectly fine. Things are going to go bad, which, oh my god, has been a lot of projects just basically starting out, oh hey, they're going out pretty great, and then just unraveling afterwards, and it's like, oh great, and just having to stop and restart again. So the bigger masks kind of failed, so we kind of miniaturized them to kind of make them kind of look more like just giant bubble heads, which I kind of like. And we're probably going to keep these for our Mexican Day of the Dead whenever that comes when that comes around later in like October, beginning November, just because actually this is pretty great, and I probably will paint these. This one I'll probably paint in the way how the Oni mask is in the show. This one I might modify to make it a little more funny just because of the clearness of it. And I'm pretty sure I have some paint I can probably use for this to make it look really well with some of the ink wells too. Overall, this actually was probably one of the pretty good ones that came out, especially with how solid these are. It's actually pretty great. But yeah, now to the next one. So the next one is more kind of together, as they're kind of, I will say, kind of failures. Well, kind of successes, kind of failures, but also things are kind of do. Starting off with basically there was almost same character, since I have mentioned before I'm a RWBY fan, so loving the show. I tried to make 3D prints of Summer Rose, RWBY's mother. I did have some of the prints. Some of these are kind of failures. They're kind of like 80%, 90% successful. But the way the 3D print was going, they kind of worked, but they also started kind of stuttering off. Actually, right here, one of the problems I ended up having with this was the cape, because the house in the cape kept breaking off, and it's like, oh great. I ended up learning how to fix that, so on the next run, whenever I get to redo this one again, I'm going to make this cape a little bit more thicker so that way it'll stay on. The hands, the right arm always kept breaking off no matter what. That was the thing that was always happening. The feet always kept breaking off. I had to do some modifications on that just because the foot just wasn't working out well. This is the first print, which mostly pretty well, just besides the broken parts and some stuff that I had to fix. The blue one was a more second version, so I was trying different colors and seeing how that went well, and overall that one did pretty great. One thing I learned about the 3D prints, at least when it comes to the filaments, is that some filaments do have higher temperature ratings. It's mostly hence the reason why a lot of my prints were failing. It's more specifically, a lot of the prints I was using the white filament, because apparently the white filament has more lower temperature rating than higher temp. That's the reason why I've been having a lot more failures is the white ones. Not a lot of them, but for some of them, I had to do some modifications, and it works. And also tinkering around with the settings too, because another thing too, when you're 3D printing, you gotta modify the settings just that way some stuff aren't as thin as possible, because they will break off. This one right here was a different different printout for the Summer Rose. This one's actually a little bit much more better. It actually came out decently nice. The cape is actually a little more thicker than the ones for the first two, so the cape actually did print out pretty well. This one actually came out pretty great. I will probably make a more bigger version of this later down the line, but overall, I'm happy how this one came out. That cannot be said the same as I did try to make the monsters for Grimm from RWBY. I only did the first one, so I had to do a resize round, which I was kind of mad. Though I will say, I kind of did like how this one kind of turned out, despite the fact that it is technically a failure. And that is the Beowulf, or the quote-unquote attempted version of the Beowulf that I just tried to do. As you can see right here, where the print started to fail miserably on this, as one thing I didn't take into account is the 3D printer not realizing when I was trying to print, or I didn't set the settings correctly, which is one of the things that did happen, is the 3D printer started failing trying to make the face and the lower body, torso, and the tail right here. You can see where the squiggly parts were basically started failing. I did do the rest of the body perfectly fine, but no face or anything else. So this is kind of like a half failure, half success, because it did do the body well. Like, it did do perfectly well. Like, the sculpting for this is pretty great. The base plate is fine. All the top body torso is pretty great. It just has no face, no gut torso, and half of its tail. I will say I did like how this ended up turning out well, just because I can think of it as kind of like a failed experiment from Salem, and kind of like it wanted the show divided towards more, like having these all the Grimm kind of like in like test tubes or something, and just have them there like failed experiments, kind of like in Alien Resurrection where they have all the different xenomorphs when they try to do like xenomorph clones of Ripley and the xenomorphs. Despite how this one was kind of a failure, I did kind of like how it ended up turning out well, and I am gonna keep it like this, as I do like how it's kind of designed. Kind of makes it much more scary, as kind of like a failed Grimm design. What's it called? But yeah, this thing, despite a failure, I do like it. I am gonna do round 2 of this, hopefully in the future, because I do want to try to get a fully sized Grimm. I did learn my mistakes and what I'm gonna do. I think the next time around, I'm either gonna cut it. That way, I can have the arms, the torso, the head, the tail all separately. And then afterwards, I'm just going to attach it via either peg points that I'm probably going to put onto it once I finish cutting it. Or just do what I usually do with model kits, is get some copper rods, basically just cut them in half after I do the cutting, just staple them all together, kind of like I do with some of my Gunpla when pieces break off, if you know what I mean. But overall, I did like how this kind of turned out, despite the fact that this was kind of a failure. I do like it. Overall, pretty great. On to my next one. The next ones are going to be a little more waifu related, as I did try to do some of them. Right here, well, I have 2 versions of these, because I did do small scale, bigger scale. We have Urza Scarlet in her, I want to say 100-Year War version. Well, not really. This is more sexy version of Urza. What's called, this is more smaller scale version, as you see her. I do want to say this is the one that she is in the 100-Year War. I'm not too entirely sure, it's been a while, but this is a more later version of Urza. This is a small scale version of this. It turned out decently well, despite being small scale. There's some details kind of a little bit missing. Something I did learn, like I said, 3D printing, is what's it called, the scaling and the details. You have to do modifications, which I ended up learning a little bit later. With some of my other detail ones, actually came out a little bit much more better. But despite that, this one still came out pretty great, despite it being a much more smaller figure. I did do and printed a little bigger version of her, which this one right here, which is a little bit much more detail right here. Though it did take a little bit much more longer. One thing I did end up learning a lot when it comes to like trying to upscale a lot of these figures, prints, is that the timing for these take a little bit longer, but the detail does come out a little bit much more better. I can see right here, I feel like the detail came out pretty great, though there's still some things that still have to be fixed on the modifications, as the 3D print still has a lot of the jagged edges, especially see on the hair and the legs parts that still need to be cleaned down and fixed, but that will be done later. Overall, this is probably one of my bigger upscale ones that actually came out pretty great using the white filament, because one thing I've started learning a lot is the white filament has a limited range when it comes to the heat range. Like between, I think it's between like 50 to 150, at least with the degrees it can take before it starts like messing up. So depending on what I use, I'll still use the white filament for some stuff, but I think I realized if for anything else, especially with weapons, because I've been trying to print out a lot of my Warhammer stuff and it's been failing a lot, I'm going to be using different color filament for that. But overall, this Urza one came out pretty great, especially in 2 different scales, small and big. Overall, pretty nice. I'll probably try to do some different other ones as well later. And talking about different filament styles, as me and my sister are also Supernatural fans, we've been trying to do some Supernatural stuff. First things first, we did the Angel Tablet. I'm pretty sure this is the Angel Tablet. And 2 different pieces. Oh, and this is one thing I did learn about a 3D printer, as we did have to cut the tablet in half, kind of like how on the show it is, because this thing would not print out perfectly well fully together. This thing did not want to, so we just had to cut it in half and just basically slice it together. And not gonna lie, I kind of like it how it is like this, just because it's kind of like show accurate, whereas basically the tablet is broken in the show and they had to put it together just to be able to read it. Not gonna lie, this actually came out pretty great. And this right here, the filament for this one, actually is one that we're actually kind of liking a little bit more. We're going to try to get a little bit more of it. This is like burnt titanium, and I love how it is with the shininess of this. Like this one, the detail pops out really nice. You can probably see it on the camera, like the detail for like it's shiny, but it's really nice on the detail. This actually is pretty great how this came out. Overall, I am enjoying this filament a little bit much more better. A little bit more than the black, if I'm going to be honest, just because I feel like the detail works a little more better. I do like the sheen of kind of like the blue coming out, like the burnt titanium. Overall, pretty great. And this is very sick. Also, another thing too, I like with the white and the other blue, the light blue one. The filament here is smooth. It's like there's no rough edges unless, I mean, besides on some of the edges ones, but most of it, it's perfectly fine. And I think that's the thing of like, we're starting to learn more of how to work on 3D prints. So we're no longer getting any more like those jagged edges that we saw in my other previous prints, like on the Urza one, or on the Talismans, or on the Summer Rose figures. We're starting to figure out how to make sure they come out smooth. There's still going to be some rough edges that we're going to sand out, file cut, sand. But that's stuff that I can do later once I'm doing a little more cleanup. Overall, this one came out pretty great, which I actually do like. I wasn't done yet with more stuff. Let's go with a little bit more anime. As we do have, I did make myself the Shinigami temporary badge. The one that Ichigo uses to go full Shinigami. This actually is still using the titanium one. This actually one came out pretty good. I actually do love how this one came out pretty well. The detail for this actually came out pretty well. I will say this, I do think different 3D, the filaments do make a little bit much more better. I can see how smooth this is compared to like some like the talismans right here, where the talismans, they're still smooth too. I think it just depends on the settings you make for on the 3D prints, but overall, I do like how this came out. The burnt titanium was actually, I think it's a pretty good color, and I probably will do more stuff to it as well to make more stuff. Overall, pretty great. And then last but not least of this last one, I'm going to do something Warhammer. This one's kind of like a failed success. As remember when I did a little bit quick short video of my Chapter Master of the Salamanders Tushan, this one right here. A little bit miniature, as I will try to do an upscale one. So this one did standard of the printing, which hence the reason why there's not that much detail for it, because I didn't do super quality, which there's different options for like quality on 3D prints. This one came out, okay, you can still see some of the stuff, but not that much. I upscaled him a little bit much more better. A little bit much more better, I will say that, on the upscale, and not gonna lie, was the 3D printing of these to upscaling some of these prints to like bigger. I actually do kind of like this better. Might be a little bit blasphemy saying, like, why do I need mini Warhammer minis if I could just upscale them to like way more bigger? But overall, he came out a little bit much more better. His cape being a little much more thicker, came out pretty well, so there's not that much breaking. Unlike with the little miniature one right here, or at least the second attempt was that one actually was pretty nice. This one right here, the detail actually came out pretty nice. Overall, not that bad. I'm probably still going to modify and clean a little bit more just to make it a little bit much more better, but you can see the detail of this one came out a little much more better. The one thing that keeps happening every time, and I think it's just a thing for the weapons. All the weapons for all these guys keeps breaking off. This is right here, his Warhammer right here for Tushan. This keeps breaking off every time. Like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to put some cement and super glue just to put this back on there. Just modify this. I'll probably just extend another blank filament I'm going to use to like fix this off. But every weapon I've tried to print now so far, as it was my 3D prints, has been so far a failure. I am going to try to get a weapon to be fully printed out, fully functioning for my Warhammers, for my Space Marines. One of these days. But not today. Right now I've been kind of taking a little bit more back rest on my 3D printing. This is kind of letting my sister 3D print stuff at the moment. But right now I've just been working on just cleaning up some stuff, fixing some stuff, cooking mainly, because I've been cooking food right now at the moment. But overall, I will get these weapons hopefully 3D printed perfectly one of these days. But yeah, that is it for this, what's it called, showcase of what I've been doing these past 2 weeks of 3D printing. Overall, I've been enjoying it. It's been a enjoyably fun process learning how to do more 3D prints. And what's it called? It is a work in progress, I can tell you that. It's not something that you can just go in, 3D print, and you're going to have everything come out perfectly. Well, no. It is a process of printing, failing, printing again, adjusting, and hopefully getting it right. The things I'm showing you right here are just a few of the things I printed. I still have a lot of other prints I've done. Most of them are failures just because adjusting is kind of necessary. The sizing for it is another thing too, because you can print out smaller things, kind of like with the Tushan, or basically you'll have bigger stuff, and then you can upscale them to be a little much more bigger. But you also got to adjust the quality of it, that way it'll fit. And then the filaments, you would need to swap out the filaments to choose which filaments you want, just because of the way you at least want them to be colored, but also mainly just for the fact that some filaments are better than others, at least when it comes to like the heat temp and how they come out with quality. It really just depends. But overall, like I said, this 3D printing journey for me has been pretty fun. I've been enjoying it. I'm probably going to do more 3D printing. I will say this, the next thing to do will be the painting part, which is going to be hassle because I kind of realize I do not have the paints or the systems for painting any of these, which I kind of realized once I was going through all my paints is like, oh, I don't have this much paint, so my next step for my 3D printing stuff is for the paints and get basically paints that I need, because I think right now I'm going to try to invest into a spray gun, actual functioning spray gun, not one of the canister ones that I have for my Gunpla, and use that for painting these guys. So I'm probably going to have to make myself a new setup where I can just do spray painting all my 3D prints from here on out. But yeah, overall, I've been enjoying this journey of 3D printing. It's been pretty nice. I'm going to do a whole lot more 3D printings. I will probably be upsizing a lot of more of my Warhammer stuff. I do plan on doing a Dreadnought. That is one I do plan to do. I am planning on doing one for a friend of mine because he does want, it wasn't a Dreadnought he wanted, it was a Terminator, I think. It was a Terminator or a Dreadnought. It was one of the two. He was going to send me the file for it, and I promised him I was going to do it, so I probably will do that for my friend. But yeah, this has been a fun journey for 3D printing. I'll probably do more updates on all the stuff I've been 3D printing later down the line, and show you my journey process of stuff of learning what I made, what I printed, and what I'm going to tinker around with to make work. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, I do appreciate you guys. Leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. I always do appreciate it, folks. As this is going to be a journey for me, one of my new journeys I'm going to be doing alongside the channel. What's it called? I'll still be doing my reviews of basically all the stuff that I have, but I'll also be doing a lot of 3D print stuff. And I am still going to try to work on trying to see if we can try to do my stop motion. It's just, what's it called? Stop motion is a lot much more difficult stuff, but I will try to do that. But yeah. Thanks for anybody who watches this video. I do appreciate it. I know this is going to be a much more longer video than most of my other videos, as it's already going on like plus 20 minutes. But yeah, I just want to show you guys my progress when it comes to 3D printing. This is a fun thing I've learned to do, especially now with 3D printing. You can basically print whatever you want now. You just gotta, but it is a learning process. It's a learning curve. Like, you just can't just print out and like boom, done. You basically just gotta tinker, modify. And it's basically a lot of failures, because it's a lot of failures before you get basic success. I can tell you that. It's basically 20 plus failures before you get one good print. And that's what I mean good print, not successful print, just good print. And then you got to go for another 20, 30 more before you get your perfected print. But yeah, thank you for everybody watching. This is I, Party signing out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, folks.